Have you been stripped of everything you had in your life, including your so-called identity? Perhaps not. And I don't wish that anyone goes through such a horrifying and humiliating experience in your life any time. In August 2019, I had the opportunity to visit the Dachau concentration camp in Munich, in Germany. In fact, I visited the same camp twice in the same month and spent several hours trying to understand and experience the magnanimity of the torture and the violence unleashed on these 60,000 plus prisoners from the year 1933 to 1945 by Adolf Hitler, the then German Chancellor, and the Nazis. As I was touring around in this camp, I gave permission to myself to gather as much information as possible from both the visuals and the reports displayed there. To be frank with you, I could feel goosebumps all over my body when I learned how 43,000 prisoners were tortured and killed in this camp. Among the many atrocities that were meted out to the prisoners, the stripping of everything the prisoners had prior to admitting them in the camp caught my attention. The reports and the visuals clearly suggested that as soon as the prisoners were brought in, they were taken to a hall and were forced to strip off everything they had, beginning from the clothes they were wearing to the watch, the belt, the shoes, and if any religious articles they were wearing around their neck. After taking away everything they had, all that they were given back was a camp uniform and a number to wear. From that day, the prisoners were known only by their number, never again to remember their name. I believe this was a deliberate way of snatching away someone's human dignity and identity. The human being, the crown of God's creation, whom God created with His own image and likeness, is now reduced to a mere number. Having lost everything dear to them, namely their family, their religion, and their identity, some of the prisoners lost both hope and meaning of their existence and died. But those who believed that they lost everything they had but not their God-given identity and dignity fought the fight till the end and survived the inhuman treatment in the camp. And one of the survivors is Viktor Frankl, the Austrian neurologist who, after coming out from the concentration camp in Auschwitz in 1959, published his new book called Logotherapy, that is, Man's Search for Meaning. Irrespective of the religious beliefs one holds, a person's identity is the most valuable possession that one has while on earth. It is my identity that gives meaning and purpose to my existence. That is why every person searches for his or her identity and tries to express it in all the aspects of his or her life. Sadly, not everyone is in touch with his or her identity and affirms it. Failure to come in touch with our true identity, we settle for the false self, namely the ego. For instance, there are many youth unable to figure out who they are deep within, end up in drugs or alcohol or in illicit relationships, believing these things can make them feel good about themselves. Identity is not the roles we play. My identity does not come from the world. It is God who gives me my identity. Buddhism believes and teaches that every person is a Buddha and all are equal. A person is great not because of his social standing or fame or academic qualifications or the positions one holds in the society, but because of what he or she is within. Here is something beautiful what Richard Rohr, the American spiritual writer, wrote in 1970s. Richard was a popular speaker, an inspiring writer. He was busy giving talks after talks and was most sought after resource person. When he was in the height of his career, all of a sudden he stopped giving any talks for a year. He told himself, "You are not a speaker, not a preacher, you are Richard." Richard without these public masks is still Richard, a beloved son of God. The Bible tells us that we are created in the image and likeness of God, and therefore every person is a beloved son or daughter of God. But the problem is that we are living in a world which in a subtle way tries to impose its own identity on us. The world keeps on lying to us with regard to who we are. In a highly technological advanced world, there are many voices calling out to us, such as advertisements, TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, WhatsApp messages, friends and family. Every voice in a way is trying to convince us that we are not good enough. Something is missing in us. These voices call us worthless, unlovable, making us believe that only power, success, fame and popularity can make us feel we are good and worthy. This is how we reject ourselves and end up creating stress and anxiety and depression. Jesus came to this world to open our ears to another voice that speaks the truth, a voice that says, "I am your God. I have molded you with my own hands and I love what I have made." Psalm 139. I love you with a love that has no limits because I love you as I am loved. Do not run away from me. Come back to me. Not once, not twice, but always and again. You are my child. Do not judge yourself. Do not condemn yourself and do not reject yourself. I love you. This voice calls us to return to the one who has created us in love and wants to redeem us in mercy. Jesus claimed that those who listen to his word and meditate on his word will come to know who they really are, and this truth will make them internally free. John chapter 8 verse 31. So, what then is my true identity? Who am I? How do I see myself? How do I feel when I take a good look at myself? Do I see myself as God sees me? Do I see myself as the beloved of God? What defines me today? Do I allow the world to define me, or do I allow God to define me? Can I reclaim my God-given identity during this Lenten season? Because knowing who we are helps us to break loose from our attachments to the false self, which we have painstakingly built over the years. Listen to St. Paul as he reminds us that every person is an image and glory of God, and our life on earth is to reflect that glory of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 7. Let's then celebrate our identity and keep affirming it every day of our life. Let me leave you with this quote from St. Augustine, who said, "Men go abroad to wonder at the height of mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long courses of the rivers, and at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motion of the stars. Yet they pass by themselves without wondering who they are."